Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and in this video I'm gonna show how to create the pop-up house that is included in the Papercraft Society box 24, designed by Sam Calcott, who is the designer behind the Made to Surprise brand. And this Papercraft Society box I was eagerly awaiting because I just have been really looking for pop-up houses, and I felt like the one that she designed is a really nice size and also looks like it would be easy to construct. So I'm starting off with the plastic template that is included in the box, and what I'm doing here is just figuring out what piece goes where, and then I'm going to just print out with using my Dymo label a label so that I know what piece is for which portion of the house. That way later when I go to use this template again, I won't have to figure it all out as if it was the first time. So hopefully my future self will appreciate that I'm taking a moment to doing this. And one of the things that I will show in this video is actually how to convert the plastic template into a cutting and scoring guide with measurements. So I don't know if it's kosher for me to be sharing that, but I'm gonna do it, and if needed, I'll take down this video because I know that this template does come in the kit, and so these may be proprietary measurements. But what I want to show is that if you do have any templates similar to these, that you can just convert them to a cutting guide if that's how you prefer to cut your pieces. I start off by just tracing around all of the plastic templates, and because I can't hand cut a straight line, I'm going to bring it into my trimmer and just line up my pencil marks with the cutting track, and then trim that way so that I get nice straight lines. And then what I'm going to do is for each piece, I'm going to take some key measurements. So here I'm just measuring the width of the glue tab. I'm measuring the height from the bottom to just the start of when that starts to angle up to the peak of the roof. And so I'll measure that, which happens to be, I think 2 3/4, and then I'll measure the full height, which is 3 15/16. And I'll also measure that center score mark, which is at 1 3/16. So you can see, because some of these measurements are in 1/16 of an inch increments, this is kind of one of the reasons why the plastic template is really a nice way to go, because it can be a little bit fiddly to actually try to measure out 1/16 of an inch, just depending on whether your trimmer or guillotine or whatever you're using to cut with actually has tick marks to at such small increments. Now, I have been using my We Are Memory Keepers, the Works All-in-One tool more and more. Probably every craft video you see me post, I pull that out to use because it's so convenient to both cut and score right away. And that only measures out to 1/8 of an inch increments. But I'll show you later in this video how I managed to get 1/16 of an inch. Now, this is going to be my front piece, and what I'm doing is I'm, again, checking to see how wide of a tab is needed for the glue tab. And again, that measures out to 7/16 of an inch, which is a very, can be a very tricky number to measure out. And so that's sort of, there's some pros and cons to using the plastic template versus actually, measuring and using a cutting guide. Now, one of the things that I found with the plastic template is that where there are slots cut out of the center of the template, those are meant to indicate where your score lines go. And one of the things, here's a close-up in case you want the measurements for this front piece. Again, look, it's 3 9/16 square is the starting piece of paper that you need to cut. So, as I was saying, with the plastic templates, the slot that's cut out of the center that marks your score lines, that is fairly wide. It's about 1/8 of an inch, and it needs to be that wide so that you can actually get a pencil tip in there so that you can actually draw that line. However, considering there are measurements that are down to the 1/16 of an inch, I feel like maybe those score lines need to be precise, and depending on whether you're scoring on the left or the right edge of that slot, you could get as much of 1/8 of an inch difference. And I don't actually know how important that is, but one of the benefits of creating a cut and score guide is that you can be more precise. Now, this is the roof piece, which I measured at 3 15/16 of an inch, but I'm rounding that up to 4x4 because this piece just sits on top of everything else, and so I don't know that extra 1/16 of an inch that I'm adding will make a material difference, but we'll see in the end if it does or not. So I've converted 3 of the 4 pieces, and even though I probably won't be using this piece very much, this is the bottom piece, which is meant for if you were actually creating a house that's standalone, and maybe used as a gift box or maybe just home decor. But that bottom piece is a pretty simple cut as well. So the one that's trickiest to cut is probably the side piece because it does have that angle, but I'll show you how I do that. So the roof is easy. It's just 4x4, scoring that in half at 2. And then the front piece, relatively easy as well. And what I do is, you can kind of see that I kind of scooch my paper in and cheat it in a little bit to get the 1/16 of an inch. And that way, because my scoreboard only has tick marks at 1/8 of an inch, what I do is I just slide it over just a smidge. So you can see here where the 4-inch mark is, where the 3 7/8 is, and my piece of paper is a little bit in between those 2 tick marks on my scoreboard. So that's how I'm managing to get 1/16 of an inch measurements. It's not exact and it's not precise, but it's going to be pretty darn close, and if it's off by a little bit, it's probably not going to be very perceptible at all. And hopefully in the engineering of things, it won't have a material difference either. So this is the side piece that I'm working on here. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and mark 2 3/4 of an inch from that left edge from the bottom. And then you want to go ahead and cut an angled cut to the center of the side panel. So I'm going to do that again, and I'll freeze frame it just so that you can see. So I score what's going to be the middle of the side panel, and then I'm measuring 2 3/4 of an inch from the bottom along that left edge. I'm going to give a tick mark both at the top and at the bottom, just right where my cutting track is. That's the line that I'm marking. And when you go to cut this piece, you want to actually cut from that mark where my pencil is to the score line that's in the center of the side of the house. And it's not the center of the whole piece of paper because there's the glue tab as well. So we're not counting the glue tab when we figure out the center. And I did have a measurement on my cutting guide, but you can see here I'm measuring within my score track. At the top is that tick mark that I added. That was 2 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. At the bottom, I'm lining up the score line that marks the middle of the side panel of our house to the score track. So that's going to give me an angled cut. And then once you cut this angle, as it turns out, the peak of the roof, that angle is actually 90 degrees. And so you can actually just line up that top edge with the top of your scoreboard, just like I'm doing here. And then all you want to do is you want to actually line up, I'm a little bit off, but I'll push it over in a bit, but you want to line up the tip of where the score line is. That would be the tip of your roof. Put that right where your cutting track is, and then you can cut straight down. So that should precisely meet up with your the previous tick mark that we made, but it'll work because I did double check that the roof of the house is at a 90-degree angle. So I'm just double checking here because I know that piece of paper is 90 degrees. I'm double checking here to make sure that's 90 degrees, and then I'm gonna cut, and it'll be perfect every time. And then I like to just miter in my glue tabs, just like the plastic template has done for us. So that was the toughest piece to cut. And this one is our front, and you can see how I've just nudged it in a little bit to get my 1/16 of an inch measurement. So when you're all done cutting, you're going to have one roof piece, two side pieces, and two front pieces. And just go ahead and score and burnish all of your folds. On the side piece, the only valley fold is that one that's at the center that goes all the way to the peak of the roof. When you go to glue these pieces together, we're going to glue the front, side, and that's going to get the base of our house. And I had previously marked the top of the front panel incorrectly. You want the top to be the part that actually has two glue tabs, top and bottom. That's going to be your top and bottom of the front piece, because one glue tab needs to glue to your roof, the other glue tab needs to glue to your card base. So once you have all of those lined up, you can just fold that over and close it all up, because all of this is meant to close down flat. And so anytime I have something dimensional that is expected to close down flat, I do like to try to adhere everything flat to make sure that it will ultimately close as I expect. Now, originally I put the tips of the roof point here right into the fold of the roof, and that was not correct because it won't open all the way if you do that. And I'm not using any liquid glue here because this is just a template piece. This won't be actually a final house that I use on any sort of project. So here I'm trying to figure out, well, how do you figure out where to put this? Well, it ends up being that you probably need to put it about 1/4 of an inch up. So if you look at where the roof line, where the angle cut starts, I've pushed that in by about 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom edge of the roof. And my tape there, the sort of shiny bit, that's just on the glue tab that's on the front piece or front panel of the house. So basically the bottom where that score line is, it's about 1/4 of an inch up from the roof line. And then you just want to center it left and right. So I found that works out pretty well. It gets the side nice and flush up to the top, and then your house can actually open fully. I found the same issue here, so I tried initially just to see how to do this. I put these glue tabs right up to the fold of my card, and that's not right. It's not going to open all the way. So then I had to figure out, oh yeah, there's all that extra dimension because of the side of the house. And so to figure out how far away from the fold, it's basically, half of the side of the house. And so I essentially measured, because you can't really see the fold of my card, that's where the blue line is. So that I lined up at about 1 1/8 of an inch. So the blue line's the fold that's in my card base. The purple line is where my ruler ends. And so I'm trying to line that up with the bottom of the house, essentially. So where our score line is for the glue tab on the house itself, that's where I'm lining it up. So that score line is about 1 1/8 of an inch away from the score line in the house. So that's essentially, here's where I realized, oh, I mislabeled the top. And then that's my note to attach this 1 1/8 from the fold. So that's essentially how you can convert the any plastic template that you may have into a cutting guide. So just make some key measurements and annotations, create a template that you can write all of those down in, and then just save that so that every time you go to make this project, you'll have those notes to yourself. But of course, there are some advantages to using the plastic template as well. So it's just personal preference, whatever you prefer. So I will also have a flip video where I use the contents of this box to create at least one flat, one layered, one interactive, and one pop-up card. So be sure to check that out as well if you actually want to see some fully created projects. Thanks so much, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!